Would you be surprised if I told you that 82% of employees say recognition is more motivating than a pay rise? But when you're running a small business, it's easy to think that rewards have to be cash or expensive perks, and they don't. In fact, if you find you're spending a disproportionate amount on those perks and you're not getting the foundations right, this video is for you. In today's video, I'll share creative ways to recognize and reward your team that are meaningful. So get these right before you spend big. Hi, I'm Kathy Doherty and welcome to the People Navigator, where I help small business owners avoid hiring and holding on to horrible people so they can instead build a business that people want to belong to. If that sounds useful, then hit subscribe and let's dive in. Make it personal, not pricey. Recognition is most effective when it feels personal, and that could be as simple as something a handwritten thank you card, a surprise coffee, a public well done in front of the team. These gestures often mean more than actual money. Yes, money. This is assuming you're paying your people a decent salary to begin with. If you're underpaying your people, none of this is really going to help, but then you won't be holding on to them anyway. But these gestures show that you have noticed and that it matters and that you cared enough to actually acknowledge it, rather than being busy, so busy getting on with getting on. Shout outs from colleagues. Recognition really gets bolstered when people feel it's not just the bosses, but it's also their colleagues who have recognized their efforts. That supercharges anything that they get, that their peers, that their colleagues, the people they work with day in, day out, recognize and respect their efforts, because they know their colleagues probably don't have to do them any favors. Consider creating a simple system where people can nominate their colleagues. Could be something as simple as putting a name on a sheet of paper and popping it into a shoebox. It could be a WhatsApp message. It could be a whiteboard or a notice board. There are certainly plenty of HR softwares where people can give thanks to their people, thanks to their team members. It costs nothing to spread positivity. But where you are seeking the nominations from your team, be aware if there are any cliques in your team, because that might skew things. Time is the ultimate reward. You might not always be able to give money. That just might not be an option for you. Things might be tight enough. So what other ways can you show that you appreciate your team? And time is valuable. So maybe things like an early finish on a Friday, or a flexible start after a big project, or a long lunch as a thank you. Those little moments of freedom. Can you remember before maybe you had your business and you finished work early, you were heading home when maybe it was a bit quieter than usual, and you noticed that quietness in the air, and it kind of felt a bit naughty that you were skipping school, that you were getting out before everybody else was, and there was a nice little, ooh, I'm away, bye. Those little boosts can really make it feel amazing. And how could you facilitate that, but not make it so it's predictable? It's the little pop of surprise that adds to all of that. Development as a reward. Recognition isn't always about perks. It can be about accessing development, accessing improvements that where maybe resources are limited, and so only a select few, or you're able to fund it for a select few or arrange it for a select few. And so that's where sometimes the recognition and reward piece comes in investing in someone's growth. That could be your time invested in their growth, or it could be giving them a project that maybe challenges them more, pushes them on another level. Maybe it takes them out of their comfort zone where they have got too comfortable, but you know with your conversations that they're dying to progress, they really want to grow, but maybe they're a bit hesitant. It doesn't have to be funding training, but that might be an option. And it doesn't have to be an MBA And Gallup research shows that employees are more likely to be loyal when they feel they're learning and developing. You're giving them a reason to stay and to connect. Create rituals of recognition. Make recognition a part of your business's rhythm. It becomes a way you do things. It's not just you do it once, you forget about it, and maybe 2 years later you go, oh yeah, I think we'll do that again. Have a think about what could work for you and your business that you can consistently stick to, that it will become part of the rhythm of your business. And if you're just beginning, you might need to have a bit of a trial and error, and that's okay. If you let your team know that you're experimenting with a few of these things and ask them for ideas, they will feed into that and embrace that. It could be as simple as win of the week or marking work anniversaries in a fun way, but be cautious of work anniversaries if people are feeling a bit stagnated, where you haven't created the environment where people feel they are learning and developing. Because if you don't have that learning, developing, growth in that way environment, if you remind people of how long they have been working for you for, they will begin to reassess how have they developed in that time and how have they grown within the last year. And if that's not very much, that could be the trigger for them to start looking elsewhere. So just be careful with some of these things. But when recognition becomes routine, it feels natural that you're not trying too hard, and it is consistent. It feels genuine, not forced or forgotten, but it does need to be meaningful, not lip service. Recognition doesn't have to cost money. It just has to feel real, specific, consistent and fair. How about trying one of these ideas, or speak to your team to get their ideas of where you could start? I'd love to hear from you what you have experienced, what you thought worked, or maybe what you've tried or what you're going to try. And don't forget to subscribe for some more People First tips. And if you'd be interested in a Thriving Leadership Essentials playbook that helps you build belonging, people and business results, then pop to the website for your free download. I'll put the link in the comment below. See you next time.